Today on Absolute Anthem, we're talking about mobility and movement mechanics and the potential they have to improve and influence our gameplay experience inside of Anthem. I actually want to start by talking a little bit about Mass Effect Andromeda. You see, Andromeda was the first time in the history of the Mass Effect franchise that we got something other than just cover-based focused gameplay. We got cover-based focused gameplay with a side of actual mobility mechanics. Simple but effective ones, allowing us to dash, dodge, jump, hover, and engage the enemy in ways we simply weren't able to in previous entries in the franchise. It introduced a whole new layer of player freedom, letting you really play the game how you wanted to play it, using both a combination of the movement mechanics and cover, just the movement mechanics. You could really mix and match. So you could go from engaging a target at long range with the sniper rifle to rushing them down with those mobility mechanics and shoving a shotgun down their face. It's an outstanding system, and honestly, I love Andromeda's combat. It's some of the best combat in the franchise, period, and I think it's some of the best combat in a third-person shooter ever. It's a great combination of those two things as well. Rarely do we see a game give us an option to do both. Games usually fall into, it's cover focused with a cover mechanic, or it's cover focused without a cover mechanic. The Division and Destiny are great examples. The Division has a dedicated cover mechanic, but honestly, in Destiny, you spend just as much time behind cover, making use of cover to regenerate health, waiting for the right moment to get back out in the open, engage targets, and then go back in again. The main difference between those two, of course, being whether you actually leave cover to engage a target, or if you can stay behind cover while you engage a target. The other side of the coin are games that just do away with those two things entirely and focus on more advanced movement systems. Games like Titanfall, Quake, and Warframe. Games that allow the player to move from one point to the other in some sort of an advanced way that allows them to do it fast, allows them to do them with style, and it introduces an element of fun factor. It also makes movement an offensive, a defensive, and even a survival tool in some cases. If you ask anyone who plays a lot of movement-focused shooters like Titanfall and Quake and Warframe what they don't like about other games, they'll tend to say it's the downtime. It's that moment in Overwatch when you leave the spawn and you gotta walk from point A to point B with nothing more than just W or left on the left joystick. It's that idea of actual downtime, being something where there isn't anything going on. People who play games like Titanfall and Quake and Warframe typically like what I call active downtime. It's that ability to manipulate the game even when you're just going from point A to point B. It's that extra layer of fun factor in a situation where games typically don't give you that much fun factor. It's a huge positive for all of the games I mentioned, and it's a reason I'm a huge fan of movement-focused shooters specifically. They just give you something that other games don't. That is very much the experience that we're going to get inside of Anthem, except really putting it on its own pedestal, taking it in its own direction and saying, well, we don't really want to do like these hard to master techniques. We don't want to have strafe jumping or bunny hopping. We're not looking for that sort of a barrier for entry in our game. I would say that in this regard, Anthem does fall closer in line with Warframe, in that picking up Warframe and understanding the basic concepts behind its movement system, it's relatively easy. Jump and bullet jump and wall run. You can develop an understanding for those things in just a few hours, if not less than that. Mastery of those things in Warframe is a different beast within itself. In the case of Anthem, we have that ease of access, that accessibility for flying, and I don't think we'll ever really see like the hardcore, nuanced nature of movement that we see inside of Warframe. Flight is more so about setting the player free and pulling them out of cover, saying forget cover, forget standing behind that rock for 20 minutes, go use your flying mechanics. Let that put you in the air. Let that give you the high ground. Use it as an offensive tool, a defensive tool. Use it as a survival tool. Use it as a tool to explore this vast open world. It is a direction that BioWare has chosen that I think very much makes Anthem stand out among the crowd. When people ask me, what is it about Anthem? Why is Anthem special? Why should I look at Anthem over other games in the market? I think when people ask that question, they typically want a laundry list of things that make that game special, but that's not really ever realistic. Games are inherently going to be compared and often similar to other games in the market. You can only be so original. So it often comes down to one or two mechanics that have a ripple effect on the rest of the experience. One or two mechanics that allow you to experience things you've done in other games in a whole new light. That is the freedom of flight system that we get with the exosuits, the javelins inside of Anthem. That system right there is that defining system. It's that system that's going to have that ripple effect on the rest of the experiences, on the combat, on the traversal, on the exploration. These are all things you've done in other games. You've shot things in the face in Destiny. You've explored the world of the Division in Warframe. But you get to do it in a different light when you have the ability to fly wherever you want to fly, however you want to fly there. It really does create that fun factor in those moments of downtime. You're not just walking from point A to point B. You're not just taking a sparrow from point A to point B. You are flying there. You are diving through waterfalls to cool off your thrusters. You are diving down into pools of water to explore and see what lies below. You are flying. I mean, it's just like, it sounds like such a simple, silly thing to say. Like, you can fly in this game, but not many games have done flight like this. I mean, when you think of games where you can fly, you think of flight simulators. You think of arcade flying games. You think of Ace Combat. You know, you think of Pilot Wings. You think of games where you fly planes. You don't think of games where you are basically Iron Man in a more analog world. But that is Anthem, and I think that is that defining factor that is going to, again, have a huge effect on the rest of Anthem systems, but that also defines what Anthem is. Without flying, without that full freedom of flight, I would be 50% less interested in Anthem. So when we talk about combat, yeah, we don't have to use cover anymore. But there's also a lot of opportunities for layers to be introduced into combat when we have something that empowers us in such a way. The big thing I hope BioWare does is create tools that they then give to the enemy in the game, our many adversaries, that will look to remove our freedom of flight, that will look to deny us of that empowerment, that will look to say, hey, guess what? The Scars have anti-air turrets, and we've already seen these in the EA Play demo. They're looking to shoot you out of the sky, so you better deal with them. And hopefully when we run into the Dominion, we get a little more of that. We get a system that tries to force us back onto the ground, that, you know, tries to rip away that freedom of flight, because that's one of my favorite things about games that empower you, is running into an enemy that looks to, you know, deny you of that power, and then you having to prioritize that enemy. It allows for more nuanced and more interesting combat engagements where you're not just prioritizing the enemy that does the most damage, you're prioritizing the enemy that in some way handicaps you, that in some way removes some of the tools that make you as powerful as you are. Now, outside of combat, we have the potential for exploration and the world design of Anthem that is really opened up by that full freedom of flight. So BioWare has already talked extensively about how this has influenced the way in which they design the open world of Anthem. They're not forced to just build things on a sort of 2D or 3D plane. You know, the player isn't just walking around on the ground, maybe climbing some ladders and some ledges, maybe double jumping or triple jumping. No, they have that full freedom of flight, which means that a level, a single component of a much larger piece of the open world inside of Anthem can have like 6 or 7 layers. You know, they can have a cave that just kind of sticks out of the side of a cliff that doesn't have a ladder or a staircase connecting to it, because no, the player could fly up there and access it. You know, it's going to hopefully expand the verticality and the density of the open world of Anthem and give us more opportunities to be genuinely rewarded for our curiosity. And that's probably my favorite thing about open world games in general, is when I just go out and explore and I, you know, kind of like, ooh, what's in that little corner over there? What's in that little nook and cranny? What can I find there, right? What fun thing might I be able to uncover, whether it's just a cool looking location or an actual piece of loot, or maybe even a quest, or, you know, a unique enemy that's just existing out in the open world. That ability to fly in Anthem hopefully is going to give us a lot more opportunities to have situations like that, and for those situations to feel a little bit more special because of how we actually reached that point, or how we actually gained access to that location. It wasn't just, oh, we walked through this cave that we've seen 1,000 times. It was, oh, we flew up alongside of this mountain and we found this new entrance that we simply hadn't seen before. So, you know, it really does create a much more 4D environment that will hopefully really improve the sense of exploration inside of Anthem's open world and put it leaps and bounds above what we've seen in other shared world shooters before. My big question for you guys today is just how important is flight in Anthem to you? Regardless of you having not played the game yet, when you look at Anthem and you see the ability to fly inside of the javelins and exosuits, like, how much is that a selling point for you when it comes to Anthem? It's a huge one for me. Like I said, I'd be 50% less excited in Anthem if I couldn't fly. Like, that is the icing on top of that's the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake for Anthem. When it comes to me, I'm like, yes, this is the big deal. This is the thing no one else is doing. This is the thing that has huge potential for combat, for open world exploration. Without flying, Anthem isn't Anthem at this point. It's already become synonymous with the concept of Anthem. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
You have been brought here for a purpose, the most important task of your life.